Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, wherever you are. Thank you for joining me again for another live Q&A session here on my channel. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Angela. I am a full-time voiceover artist and audiobook narrator, and my channel is dedicated to those of you just getting started in this wonderful world of voiceover and audiobook narration. And through my channel, I share with you tips, tricks, techniques, things that I do every day in my own voiceover business, and then we get together in these weekly chats to talk about a topic or two. Today's topic is Fiverr. We touched on the audiobook side, the audiobook gig side of Fiverr last week, and I understand that for some odd reason, StreamYard wasn't following along with me as I was going through the slides, so we're going to go back in today and just open it up to whatever questions you have regarding Fiverr. We could talk about pricing, we could talk about keywords, we could talk about impressions, clicks. You have questions about Fiverr, so let's address them, and so that way you guys can get on there and make it another stream of income for you. So today's poll is, what is your greatest challenge right now on Fiverr? And if you haven't started, obviously that's a that's a response for the poll, but if you haven't started yet, then what is holding you back? What is the thing that is holding you back from getting started, at least creating a profile and looking around? So far we have 23 votes. Looks like 9% of you said pricing and or extras, because I know the extras or the add-ons can be a little confusing, so we can touch on those. 4% of you said securing the usage rights, meaning on Fiverr there are extras or options for commercial rights and full broadcast rights. So I think getting buyers to understand what they are and why they're needed is usually a challenge, and then getting the client to purchase them if they are needed is also a challenge. So that is why I asked that question. That can sometimes be a problem. 25% of you said just getting orders, but then 58% of you, so the majority of you, said I haven't created a profile yet. So good. So if you're in that 58%, tell me why you haven't started one yet. So maybe we can address that roadblock for you as well. Votes are still coming in. That's great. Okay, so it still looks like most of you haven't. And then close second is getting orders. Okay. So we can go with that. So I'm going to show you a few things to address some of these, some of the poll questions. And then we can get over to the comments and answer your questions. But first, I need to put my coffee down. Holding on to it for dear life. All right. So this time, I'm actually going to show you my entire screen. Not my entire screen, but the entire window. See, look, there's me. Hey, guys. It's showing you the wrong screen, of course. So let's get over to the correct screen. Okay, so if you haven't yet started a profile on Fiverr, the first thing I always want you guys to keep in mind is to choose your username wisely. You want to choose a username that is going to be what you're going to be known by in this industry, and preferably the same name that you're going to use across all platforms and including your website. Because there have been many times when clients wanted to work off of platform, and you cannot discuss that on Fiverr at all. You take the risk of getting yourself blocked and or banned from Fiverr. It is in their terms of service to not provide or discuss personal details. That includes your logo, your website, all of those things. So if a client were to take it upon themselves to Google you and using your username and find your website, that happens, right? Not only that, but if, excuse me, if something happens to one of these platforms that you're that you're sourcing business from goes under, disappears, get hacked, whatever it is, that username that your clients are using is along the same lines, is the same way that they can find you if something were to happen to that platform. So choose your username wisely. That is the only thing that you cannot change on Fiverr is your username. So choose that wisely. Okay, so once you're past choosing your username, you've signed up for a profile on Fiverr, you can, unlike some platforms, you can have a duplicitous profile on Fiverr, meaning you can be a buyer and a seller. You can do both with one profile, unlike like ACX where you have to sign up as either a narrator or an author. Fiverr, you can have one profile for both. You can sell and buy with just the one profile. So once you have the profile set up and you've filled out your bio and things, and if you have questions about that, please ask. But you have your profile and you're going, okay, now I'm at the point where I'm going to create my first gig. How do I go about it? Let me take this banner off so it's not blocking. So you're going to go in as a buyer, which is where I'm at right now. And you can tell because over here it'll say switch to selling. So that'll switch you to your seller profile. But for now, you want to go in as a buyer. And to do that, you just click your little profile face and it says, switch to buying. And then you're going to come over to the search bar. And depending on what you're going to sell in your gig, you want to start typing in some keywords. But go about it as if you were a buyer. Meaning, what are the words that your buyer is going to be using? So for us as voiceover artists, I'm going to say, if I'm looking for phone greetings, perhaps, maybe I need a phone greeting for my business recorded, I'm going to use phone greetings. I'm going to use phone greeting. And then I'm going to search, although I didn't really see much come up, although I wasn't paying attention. So if I just put in phone, because I wanted to show you this, once you start typing in words, you'll have pre-filled like suggestions pop up, just much like Google does. And these are the things that are being searched for most often. So you want to pay attention to that because you want to be using those keywords. I don't see phone greeting in here. So I want to say phone greeting because not everybody knows what IVR is. And IVR, for those of you that are new, an IVR is an interactive voice response. It's basically a phone tree, right? So when you call into your dentist's office, you have a voice saying, thank you for calling so-and-so dentist's office. For the receptionist, press 1. For Dr. so-and-so, press 2. Those sorts of things. That is IVR. So if your client does know what IVR is, you could type in IVR and nothing came up. This is not going to be a good day. So let's pick something else. Let's just go basic. Let's just go voice. Okay, so these are my recent searches because I play a lot in here just to see what's up. But if you come into services, voiceover as one word comes up. Looks like that is being searched for most often, as opposed to voiceover as 2 words. So keep that in mind. Voiceover as 1 word is being searched for quite a bit. Next to that is voice actor. So start taking note of these search terms that are coming up. Bangla, British female anime. So if you're into character work or doing character work for voiceover, using the word anime is definitely one you want to note. Deep male voiceover. Think those gritty, deep male like a Ford truck commercial. That's what that is, a deep male voiceover. Female voice actor. And Spanish voiceover. Voiceover is 2 words. So start noting these things that come up. If you're looking to create an audiobook gig, start typing in audiobook. So we got audiobook is 1 word. Audiobook narrator is also being searched. Audio cleanup, if you're looking to create a gig for audio editing services. Audio cleanup is being searched. Audiobook editing and audio fix are being searched for as well. So, and as we mentioned in last week's live chat. We were talking more about audiobooks in Fiverr. There are two different categories, which is why in voiceover in audiobook production is coming up. There are two different categories that you could put your audiobook gig in. And the voiceover category, personal experience, I've tried my audiobook production gig in both categories, and it's always done better in the voiceover category. And I think the audiobook production category, that is better. It's formatted more for post-production, like editing, mastering, proofing, not so much like full narration, complete audiobook from start to finish. Audiobook production category is better suited for post-production, which is a good thing because you could have two different gigs. You can have a gig for full audiobook production in the voiceover category, and then you could have another gig for just post-production audiobook in the audiobook production category. So you could offer your editing, proofing, mastering services to other audiobook narrators. Come on, voice. I haven't warmed up yet today. You can offer your services to other narrators who perhaps are in a sticky spot where they have maybe 3 or 4 audiobooks in queue and they don't have the time to do the editing and stuff. You could offer those services to them. So you could effectively have 2 separate gigs, but just make sure that they are not the same because they all need to be a little bit different in Fiverr. Each gig has to be a different approach or a different kind of voiceover or a different kind of service. It can't be the same. All right, so once you've gone through the search and you've made yourself some notes in terms of what keywords or what are the hot search terms that people are searching for, then you can go in to start create your gig. So then once you go back in as a seller, you're going to go to your gigs, which is under My Business. You click gigs. And then yours will probably have nothing there, but I have 9 gigs, but I do have a draft that we can play with. So it will say create new gig. So you're going to click create new gig. And then I'm just going to use this one as a template just to show you what it looks like. The first step is the overview. And the gig title is always pre-filled with I will. So then you just need to finish the sentence. And it's going to include, that title is going to include the keywords that you saw most often, like voiceover as one word, audiobook narrator, right? Some of the words, the keywords that you took note of earlier while you were searching and playing with words. And you can change this title. You can change it whenever you want to, but as I said before, try to make all of your changes, if you're making any, at one time, and then let the algorithm do its thing. So don't make changes every day. It'll just take longer for the algorithm to find the appropriate spot for you, right? Anyway, I play around with record, deliver, narrate, voiceover. I will voice over your XYZ kind of project. You can play with these words and see what works best for you, and but actually I'm going to change this now to voiceover as one word, as we saw that was searched for most often. So once you have your title in there, then you want to select your categories, music and audio, the voiceover category, and it will suggest some for you depending on what your title is. But I would just say voiceover is probably fine for a voiceover, like a general voiceover gig. And then go through all of the metadata here, the language that you speak. You can speak, you can select 2 different languages. So if you're bilingual, definitely utilize that. Select your gender. The purpose of this gig, you can change these to whatever you want them to be, whenever you want them to be. Just pick 3, right? Don't leave those choices undone. Always pick 3. For this one, I chose video narration, YouTube, and TikTok. Again, you can change these up any way you want to. Age range, I just stick with adult. even though I could easily go into the middle-aged category. I just stick with adult because it's a broader range, right? But again, you can change it to middle-aged, youth, adult, whatever you see fit. Tone, again, choose 5 of these. It doesn't matter whichever you think is most closely related to this particular type of gig, and just choose 5. And then we get into keywords. So what you want to pay attention to in these positive keywords box is to not use the same keywords that you used in your title. You want to use different keywords. Because when a buyer goes into Fiverr and they go into that same search bar to search for a freelancer for something, just as we did before, the first thing that your gig is going to be weighted against in that buyer's search is your title keywords, the keywords in your title. And then to further refine the search, it's then going to revert to your positive keywords to make sure that they're showing the buyer the gig that they're looking for. So you don't want to use the same keywords, otherwise you're just wasting a keyword, basically. So use different keywords in your tag box than in your title. So since we changed the term or the keyword in my title to voiceover as one word, I'm going to get rid of this one and put in voiceover as 2 words. Because I don't want to double dip. I don't want to waste a keyword, right? And again, you can change these to whatever you want to. This one is just, I'm beta testing with this one. I just want to see what keywords work best. And then once you have them in there, if you want to prevent people from finding your gig by, maybe you could put in here, for example, AI. If someone's looking for an AI voice, they will not be shown your gig. But I just leave that word blank, and I think that's only available for the Seller Plus program anyway. But just in case you join and you see that, that's what that is. All right, so the next thing we're going to do is save and continue. Always save and continue because it does not autosave. So you need to manually save it every time you go in there. All right. One of the questions I get a lot is about this, just to go back a step, this basic offer box is what is going to be shown on the face of your gig to people. So you want it to be an intriguing value, right? You want it to be an intriguing deal. You want it to be a great entry point price, so on and so forth. And then I also, I think we skipped a step. When you're searching keywords in the beginning, as we did in the search bar, you could even see what gigs come up on page 1, like for voiceover. Enter it, hit enter when you type in voiceover and just look at the gigs that come up on page 1 and start to look at how their pricing structures are looking. And then also pay close attention to the new sellers, right? Because if you're just getting started, that you're a new seller now. So you want to sort of be on the same page as the other new sellers and see how they're structuring their pricing, right? What their basic offer pricing is. In my 8 years on Fiverr, I've always seen better results by using 100 words as the basic offer. And I know some of you are going to go, well, 150 is a better deal. 200 is a better deal for $5 or whatever your entry point price is. But trust me, for whatever reason, 100 words always works better to get more clicks and impressions. I don't know why it is. It just is. So I recommend that you start with 100 words as your basic offer. For revisions, you can offer unlimited if you want to, none, 5, 3. I offer 1 because it's, why not? It's just me being nice, right? And then it's also your decision on what you consider to be a revision. Change of script is never a revision. Change of script is extra work. It's additional work, especially if you've already recorded whatever the order was for and they changed the script afterward because they didn't like the way the wording sounded. You can prorate the new offer to re-record that, but that is additional work. A revision is more or less pace or tone. So perhaps they gave you they gave you vague instructions on how, like, what kind of pacing they wanted this to be. Maybe you read it more of a high energy because that's how it read to you and they didn't tell you that. You just assumed it was a high energy read. But then they come back and say, well, no, we need this section perhaps to be a little bit slower. That could be a revision, right? But if you make a mistake, that shouldn't be counted against the buyer's revision. That's on you. If you made a boo-boo, you should fix that for free. So that's what a revision is, but it's never change of script. So make sure that you make that known, that a revision is not change of script. Now, the entry price point doesn't have to be $5. It doesn't have to be. It's just an appealing price point while someone's flipping through all of the profiles to see, who is going to meet their budget, who is available, and who is the voice that fits what I need. So $5 is appealing to start, but you can configure the rest of your gig to still have an end result of, hundreds of dollars. It's just in how you structure your gig, but the entry point can be whatever you want it to be. It doesn't have to be $5. It can be $10, it can be $15, whatever you want it to be. But just for the purposes of this, we're going to go with $5. And then here is how you can make a little bit more. You don't have to keep your additional words, like each additional 100 words is another $5. So if it's a 200 word script, it would be $10. Is that basically how that works? Or you could take this down to 50. Each additional 50 words is $5. So now that 200 word script is now $15. Right? Or you could change this to $10. Each additional 50 words is $10. So now that 200 word script is now $20. $25. Math. You see what I mean? This is how the entry point is just the entry point, the entry point of the gig. You can change these in the back end to make you a lot more money. So every gig is not $5, right? Don't confuse that. It's just the entry point to get people to click on your gig and hopefully move through with placing an order. Now, delivery time. I've got 1,200 words in here due in 2 days. Now, keep in mind, 1,200 words sounds like a lot, but in reality, that's about 10 minutes. It's about 10 minutes of narration. Average rate of narration or average pace of narration is 150 words per minute. It sounds like a lot, but that's what it is. So 1,200 words is about 10 minutes-ish, right? And I say 2 days because in reality, I could have that done much, much sooner, but I allow myself 2 days for 2 reasons. 2 days gives me an additional day or an additional day and a half, more or less, of buffer time. So maybe I'm working on something else. Maybe I don't really feel well that day. Maybe the order comes in late in the day and and I'm leaving the studio. I can do it tomorrow, right? It gives me a little bit of buffer time. The second reason is because I can enable extra fast delivery. So if the client does need this voiceover today, they can pay an additional fee to have that. And you can make it, mine is actually at $50 right now. So within 24 hours, I can deliver up to 1,200 words for an additional $50. So now that 200 word script that I need today with this configuration is now $75. You see how this can add up? And then in addition, that script is maybe Google translated from a different language. They want to pay you, and this, again, doesn't have to be $5. It can be $10, it can be $20, it can be whatever you want it to be. They also want you to proof it to make sure that it makes sense in the English language. They can tack that on for another $10. Now, commercial rights and full broadcast rights. This is where a lot of people get confused. Commercial rights is, let me back up. Usage rights is tiered. So commercial rights are required if the voiceover is being used for to promote a business product or service online at all, period. So that's about 98% of what we do as voiceover artists is something to be online. So their website, social media, right? Online at all, period. So in addition to that, if they're going to use the voiceover on social media in paid ads, if they're paying for advertising with your voiceover, then they need full broadcast rights. So if that voiceover is going to be on Google ads, TikTok ads, Facebook ads, TV, radio as a commercial, they need full broadcast rights in addition to commercial rights, right? Online, paid advertising, they need both. Make sense? So now that 200-word script is a lot more. Don't ask me to do the math, but you get my point. It can add up very quickly as long as you have everything set up appropriately and explain to the client, this is the purpose of these, and this is why you need them. Be sure to add them to your order, right? Let me just make sure that looks like it's following along with me this time, so just making sure. Okay. This one here for WAV format, don't charge extra for WAV. I mean, we record, edit, process, and WAV. You shouldn't be charging extra for that. This was in here from 10 years ago. It should probably go away. Don't charge extra for WAV. That's just underhanded. Timed audio sync is when you are syncing a voiceover to a video or into specific time slots. Sometimes clients will give you a voiceover script that's got, between second 000 to 2 seconds, I need this bit of information in it. So then you need to kind of move your voiceover around so it fits within those time slots. That's timed audio sync. You can go even further and offer a extra down here for video sync to actually sync your voiceover to video. But if you don't know how to do that, don't worry about it. It's not a necessary thing. But when you learn that skill, you can offer that as well for an additional fee and time to delivery, of course. Split files is, for instance, if it's a phone greeting script and they have 5 different prompts that need to be in separate files, you can charge, it's basically $1 a file. You can split, the script into 5 different files for $5. If the client wants to purchase additional revisions in addition to the one that you already offer them for free, or however many you offer them, they can pay for them. They can purchase them up front. I find that most of the time, no revisions are needed. So it's just an extra $20 for you, but it's there. If the client feels a little bit better about moving forward with you, it gives them a little extra peace of mind to know that it's there if they need it. Background music, I offer background music with, most of the time I see background music added with IVR, like phone greetings, like an on-hold greeting, or with meditations, right? But not so much with commercial or just general voiceover. But if you have that skill and ability, then add that on as an additional service. Commercial rights 1 year and broadcast rights 1 year. These are relatively new. These were added on within the last year. You can choose these two in addition to these two. These two are more or less, if you do choose both, these are more or less in perpetuity. So these prices need to be higher. So they can use your voiceover wherever, whenever, for however long is basically how that comes across, if you're offering both. And then these two would be a smaller amount for just the use of 1 year as opposed to in perpetuity, if that makes sense. Live direction is another thing that you can offer clients if they want to live direct you via Zoom. And if they want to do that, it has to be part of the order. Otherwise, it's a no-no, right? You can't meet with people via video unless it's part of an active order. So adding live direction is another great add-on to include. But if you do include live direction, make sure that the price is at least $50, if not $100, right? And you could specify that $50 is for each 30 minutes or something like that, if you wanted to. But give yourself an extra couple of days for live direction, because there's going to be a little bit of time to come to a agreement between the two parties, you and the buyer, to decide on a date and time to meet, right? And that might take a little bit of time. Maybe there's several people involved on the buyer side that they need to all put their heads together and decide on a date. So that's going to take extra time. So make sure you allow yourself an extra couple days for that. I can spend a whole hour going through each and every part of your Fiverr gig, but these are the major questions that I get regarding the Fiverr gigs. Let's go over to the comments and then I can show you guys specific things if you have specific questions. So let's do that. I'm going to go back to my big face and then we're going to go to the comments and see what questions you have. Hopefully, I've demystified a little bit of stuff for you. That was my main intention for today. Who was here first? Abe. Abe was here before I was in the studio. How you doing, Abe? Good morning, all from pleasant Nashville. May your mics be clear, your manuscripts be easy to read, and your breaths be soft. Abe said, I voted that I haven't created a profile yet, but I have. I've just been too busy to go any further. Good problem to have, Abe. Paul is here. Hey, Paul. Good morning from beautiful South Arkansas. Rustic Hillbilly is here. Good morning to you. Kat. Good morning, Kat. Caesar. Oh, hi, Angela. Same deal as with Abe. I have a Fiverr profile, but haven't gone much further. All my work so far has been from auditions or website visits or social media or direct outreach. I don't know if you're going to have time to babysit and cultivate a Fiverr profile. You may not need to. It's another extremely viable stream of income for you, but it does take time to cultivate, to build. It takes time, right? It took me probably, I reached top rated within about somewhere between a year and a half and 2 years. I became top rated on Fiverr. And that took a lot of time, a lot of dedication to making sure that I hit all of the parameters to, move up the ranks. It took some time. Paul says, good day, Angela et al. From an even more autumnal Dunmow, UK. Following last week's chat and your suggestions, I've reworked several of my gigs and be deluged, it's a fun word, with messages, but all scams so far. Yeah, and you're going to get those, especially, and I'm glad you brought that up, Paul, because especially if you're new to any platform, scammers are going to try to prey on your ignorance. They're going to assume that you don't know how things are done, that you don't know, that you can't smell out a scam yet. But the fact that you can, Paul, is already a step in the right direction. So just know that you're going to have a lot of people try you on when you're brand new to any platform. That does wane with time, so give it time, but knowing and recognizing that it's a scam is great because then you know how to handle it. But you also need to do your part in responding with a no thank you, report, and block. So do your part and report those people so they can be handled and removed by Fiverr so they don't harass anyone else. Hopefully. Donnie. Hey, Donnie. Donnie says, same as Caesar, I have my profile, but then got kind of lost and ACX kept me busy. So now I'm trying to expand now. Good. Fiverr has been very good to me over the years. Fiverr has been very good to me over the years. I've made, I'm not going to tell you how much, but a lot of money on Fiverr, and it does take time to build. It sort of snowballs. But just make sure that you're, pricing out your gig appropriately so it catches the eye, and, take care of the customers that you do have so you get repeat and referral business. It's just about wearing that customer service hat, and then understanding the algorithm. So that's what my intention is for you today, is to help you to understand how Fiverr works. And if you understand that, then that gives you a real edge in, building your profile there. Caesar says, I also do what I can to diversify income, and I have my passion projects as well, which I'm happy to report will see much progress this year, fingers crossed. Yes, I think a lot of us have a lot in the hopper right now. We've got a lot of exciting things coming in the future that we're all working on. I think next year is going to be a really good year. I know it. Chuck. Hey, Chuck. Hey, everybody. Chuck here. How do I schedule and price an audiobook order since on Fiverr, since it could take an undetermined amount of time to complete? Okay. So for an audiobook gig, sort of similar to, let me go over to mine so I can show you, and then I'll open it. Give me a second to get there. Where is it? There it is. Pricing. Okay, so I'm going to show you mine right quick. Let me take your comment off there. All right, so this is my audiobook gig. What you want to do is, in the voiceover gig that we looked at earlier, I had a 2-day delivery time for 1,200 words. This, my audiobook gig, has a delivery time for the basic offer of 5 days for only 2,200 words. And then each additional 1,800 words gives me an additional day. So in reality, if we save and preview this, so if a buyer comes in here, and remember, you want 9,300 words as you're building this audiobook profile to equal your per finished hour rate. I just want to mention that again. So if a buyer comes in here and says, I have a 5,500 word book, sorry, 55,000 word book, it's going to be a 35-day delivery time. That is how you math that, right? If we go back to my gig here, each additional 1,800 words gives an extra day. So this one will also take a little bit of mathing, and I do recommend allowing yourself a little extra time just for that chaos factor. As we mentioned before, you want to have almost too much time, but not like extreme. You don't want your gig to be, you know, instead of 35 days for 55,000 words, you don't want it to be 105 days. That's going to deter clients from your page. You want it to be a manageable amount of time, but maybe a few days extra just in case you want a day off, just in case you get sick or the kids get sick or something comes up, lifes, right? You want to have a few extra days of buffer time in there. It's still a comfortable amount of time for you to get the book done. And you could even deliver it early and be a hero and get a big fat tip as a thank you. But allow yourself buffer time, but don't make it too extreme of a number, right? So in essence, you're controlling how much time you need to finish an audiobook by mathing this box here, right? So just play around with it a little bit until the end result, when you preview your gig, that the end result is a comfortable amount of time. I hope that makes sense. Caesar says, that said, hello, everyone. It'll be my birthday in 7 minutes. If you're stateside, it'll be my birthday in 12 hours EST. Getting close. How old are you going to be, Caesar? I think you told us before, but my memory's garbage. I was today years old when I discovered you can't eat bacon out of the package. What? What? Shauna says, hello from Minnesota. Hello, Shauna. Good morning. Sage is here. Hey, Sage. Good afternoon, everyone. I haven't created one yet. I'm struggling with editing currently, so I don't feel ready to start yet. And that is a big thing. You're struggling with editing in general. If that is the case, I would at least create your profile, if anything, because a big, I wouldn't say a big factor, but going back to my gig here and then showing you guys, if we look at, oh, It doesn't show it here. Preview. Oh, here we go. It used to show like how long you've been on the, yeah, see, they've changed this a little bit. It used to show how long you've been on the site, like member since kind of a thing. But I would say just start one. You don't have to create a gig. You can at least create your profile and work on it slowly in chunks. So choose your username, create your profile, fill out the bio, and then start doing the research while you're learning editing, right? You can do both, and you could create the profile in chunks on Fiverr. Maybe it's the more about me. Oh yeah, on Fiverr since June. So this could be a factor for some people. This is definitely a factor for me when I'm choosing which clients I want to work with, because if they reach out to me in my inbox and it sort of smells like it could be bogus, I'm going to look at their profile and see how long they've been on the site, if they've done any business before, how they're rating people, any of that stuff. If that client, if my spidey senses are tingling and they just joined this month, I might decide to not work with them. So the same thing goes for us. The sooner you join, the better, because this clock will start ticking, right? On Fiverr since this date, not necessarily with active gigs. If you're picking up what I'm putting down, I would at least create it and then work on it slowly in chunks is what I would do. Shauna says, oh, if I can click it. I'm struggling with setting up a profile on Fiverr due to not sure what to showcase that would invite orders. I've only done one audiobook on ACX so far. I started on Fiverr with nothing, just like most people. In your profile, as you guys probably saw on the last page when I showed that to you, my profile is focused more on what I have to offer, right? A little bit about me, a little bit about my background. I'm not saying I'm an award-winning audiobook narrator when I had nothing to offer other than my equipment and my voice and my quick turnaround time and whatever else. That was all I had. And I still got orders, right? It's just a matter of presenting yourself in a way that you're professional. You're not brand new. I find that when you add to your profile that you're just getting started or I'm brand new to this, so please go gentle on me, all that kind of stuff inadvertently tells the buyers that you don't know what you're doing. So don't do any of that in your bios. Save yourself that agony. If that is in your bio, take it out, right? They don't have to know that you're brand new. All they need to know is that you have the appropriate equipment, you have the know-how to the best of your ability, that you're available, they can afford you, and that your voice is the right one for their project. That's all they need to know. So don't overdo it, basically. Okay. Happy birthday, Caesar. Ken says, I have started filling out my Fiverr profile, but life keeps getting in the way. I'm still plugging away, though. Good. That's all you, if that's all you can do, then that's good. That's still progress. Right? Life's. God, do I know that? Just keep moving forward, even if it's in little bits and pieces. It's still progress, no matter how small you think it is. So don't get down on yourself. Any of you. Shauna says, I've also noticed that many VO artists talk about how many years they've been doing voiceover, and I obviously don't have that. Is that a lack of experience, a deterrent? Going back to what I just said, don't talk about it. Focus on your equipment. Focus on the sound of your voice. Focus on the types of voiceover that you offer. You don't have to go into specifics. Not until you have that experience. Then you can say it, right? But do not put in there that you're brand new, that you're just starting, that you're, because that inadvertently sends the wrong message. Just use what you have. Stacy says, hello, Angela. Hello, Stacy. Rebecca says, to Caesar, happy birthday. Ken says, between Fiverr, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok, lots of irons in the fire. Oh, God, do I know it. There's a lot to stay on top of. And algorithms to try and get tickled, like we all need to do here, too. Abe says, oh, a recap. Goody. I missed last week. I was in Denver on vacation. Kind of a recap. A little bit. Dylan says to Caesar, don't let anybody tell you how to live your life, especially on your birthday. Eat that raw bacon. Don't eat raw bacon. Dylan. Hang on, I gotta turn my air conditioner on because it's warm. There we go. Even if I get in, no, don't listen to Dylan. That's a PSA. Do not eat raw bacon. Chuck says, personally, I'm struggling with editing my audiobook recordings. I seem to cause more problems as I go through the process. But you know what? You're finding the problems and they're becoming lessons to strengthen your skill going forward. Keep in mind that failures are not failures. They are lessons. Because you're stronger going forward after you've learned them, right? So that you're not failing, you're learning. It's all about mindset shift, people. I'm telling you. Dylan says, I'm with the other two musketeers. I also created a profile and put in a bit of time, but my work comes from elsewhere. So I don't pay much attention to Fiverr. And that's great. If you don't need to, then don't. I suggest Fiverr because it's just another source. It's another platform that's totally viable that can diversify your income. It's an additional opportunity for another stream of income, but it does take time, as do most of these platforms. They do take time to build and nurture and cultivate, right? So if you don't have copious amounts of extra time to do that, then just focus on what you have and build out these other platforms slowly in little bites. Because there may come a time where you're in that lull from your other sources, and then you can go back and then maybe create that first gig, right? Paul says, just to quantify my problem getting orders, I have been on Fiverr for 16 months, currently have 4 gig offerings to date, 1 job, $32. I would say it's time to probably refresh your gigs. All of them. Refresh your thumbnails, refresh your pricing, refresh it all. Right? Because if you sit idle on Fiverr for too long, meaning you're not seeing any sales, you're not doing anything, right? Fiverr's going to start to think that maybe you changed your mind. And they're not going to promote you if you're not going to be available. If there could be the possibility that you're just not working on this anymore, maybe it was a flash in the pan and you're not active anymore, they're not going to promote you as often, right? It's just telling the algorithm that you're still there, basically. So Paul, for you, go in then and refresh all of your gigs, everything, your titles, your keywords, your thumbnails, refresh it all, your description, your gallery, right? Your audio samples are probably going to be a whole lot better than they were 16 months ago. Change them up. Reset that algorithm. Tanya says, evening all. I don't think I could have set up my profile or pricing without your videos. Oh, I'm glad, Tanya. Thank you. Stacy says, full-time job takes up time needed to create an account. When I quit this job, I will be able to give full effort. You know what, Stacy? I was working 50 plus hours a week when I started on Fiverr. Within a year and a half, I fired my boss and went full time. I'm also a mom. And at the time, I had a partner living here with me at home. I made some sacrifices with sleep and, family time and all the things, but knowing the entire time that that struggle was temporary. And once I got to the point that I could go full time, then I would have all the time to spend with my family, or a lot more of it, right? Now, everybody's situation is different. I understand that. I totally get that. So I'm not poo-pooing on you or your situation, don't get me wrong, but I just want to tell you that was in a similar place. Right? I worked somewhere between 50 and 60 hours a week, and I was able to build this up on the side. Again, it takes time. It takes a lot of concentrated effort to make sure that you're answering questions, that you're responding, that you're doing all the things. And it does make you crazy sometimes, but it's the effort. So just do it in little bite-sized pieces, but keep moving forward. Caesar says to Dylan, my God, you made me spit out my coffee. Oh, hang on, we got a super chat. I see it. Caesar, why are you sending me super chats when it's your birthday? It's your birthday. Why are you sending me money? We shall all be pooling and sending you money for your birthday. Caesar says, I always thought the cured part of bacon labels meant that it had restorative properties. Either way, here's 2 Fivers for 2 pounds of bacon. Thank you, Caesar. I would love to go get some bacon, but I don't even know how much bacon is anymore. I haven't bought bacon in so long. Oh, dear God, where did I leave off? Oh, here we go. Thank you, Caesar. Gia says, hi, all. I've been looking for a while, but finally able to join. Started procrastinating, but then jumped into doing auditions and getting the feel. Good. That is the best way to learn. Because you can watch people and listen to people and take notes forever if you allow yourself to. The best way to learn anything is hands-on. It just is. Because if you get in there and do it, then you start to come across challenges and obstacles and, questions, roadblocks, all the things. And then you go and you find ways around them, over them, through them, under them. You find out what you need to do in that situation, and you become stronger, faster with your skill set than just watching from the sidelines. So good on you, Gia. Get in there. Feel it out. Jules says, I have too much work through ACX. I haven't had time to finish building my profile out 100%. So I haven't booked anything through Fiverr. Again, it does take time, but if you're busy elsewhere, then that's okay too. Masonry Construction says, I use Fiverr as a buyer. My audio engineer comes from there, but as a seller, it is almost useless to me as I always get 5-star reviews, but Fiverr kills me with their stupid success scores. Every profile is going to have different pros and cons. Every profile is going to be structured a little bit differently. It's just if you want to play the game, and you don't have to. You don't have to play the Fiverr game. But for those of you that do, I'm hoping that my videos help. And they're not always going to be, some of these parts of the aspects of the structures are not going to be awesome. They're just not. But you kind of have to take the good with the bad, and just kind of learn how to play the game. Chuck says, I've been a buyer on Fiverr since 2015. Can I change my name from my seller account? No. Your name is the only thing you cannot change on your profile, period. And keep in mind that profile on Fiverr is duplicitous. You could be a Fiverr seller and buyer with the same profile. So the only way to change your name is to delete the old one and create a whole new one, because you can't have 2 accounts. If Fiverr discovers that you have 2 accounts used on the same IP, you will be deleted. It's in their terms of service. So the only way to change your name is to delete your entire profile, create a new one with a whole new email address. I mean, like brand new from scratch. Alicia says, hello, everyone. Hello, Alicia. Sage says, happy birthday, Caesar. I have no idea how to pronounce that, so I'm not going to butcher it. Johnny Walker says, hi, everyone. I got stuck with the pricing when creating my Fiverr profile. especially the extras. I've started researching others' gigs for comparison, and I'm grateful for today's topic. Good. And that is a great way to go about it, too, is just looking at other people's profiles and other people's gigs and seeing what they're doing. Because you can look. You can look at them as a buyer and look at their gigs and see how they're structured. And that'll give you some ideas on what to do and what not to do. Let's see if we can find some questions, because that went fast. That hour went super fast. Let's see if we can find some more questions. Gregory says, good morning, my good people. I hail from far north Dallas, complete with donuts, apple fritters, bear claws, and cinnamon rolls. I love it. Donnie brought some maple long john. Those have quickly become my favorite. Maple long johns with bacon on them, or in them, or both. Oh my gosh. Donnie said, oh my God, thank you so much, Angela. I have been having issues with pricing breakdown, and this is good. Good. I'm glad. Bacon and donuts is a balanced meal. Shauna says, what is a typical interaction with the client after they place an order? After they place an order, you want to respond to them right away with, you can even have a lightning response set up for this too, meaning like a pre-filled response that just says, thank you for the order. I'll review everything. Thank you for all the information you've included. I'll be reviewing this, and then I'll have this order for you as soon as possible. But you do want to respond to them as quickly as you can after they place an order, just to confirm and acknowledge that you see the order and that you'll have it for them as soon as possible. And if you have any questions, you'll reach out, something to that effect. And then you get started on their order. And then once you complete their order, you hit the Deliver Now button, you upload the order, and then you can also have a lightning response for the verbiage that goes in the text box. Here is your order. Let me know if anything needs to be changed. I appreciate it so much. Don't forget to save my gig for future purposes, something like that. Just make sure that you don't say anything about what kind of review you want. Just say, hey, don't forget to leave a review, that sort of thing. And then that's it. Then you deliver the order. If the client has a revision request, they will send that back to you, right? So-and-so customer has requested a revision. You go in, you make the revision, you submit it again, right? And then usually within a day or two, the client will complete the order if they're happy with it, and then they'll leave you a review. If they just take the order and run and don't actually physically complete the order on their end, it will be auto-completed within 3 days. That's about it, I think. I don't think I forgot anything. And then make sure you leave them a review as well, because again, that's feeding the algorithm. That tells the algorithm on Fiverr that you're active, that you're engaged, that you're doing all the things. So make sure if they leave you a review, you review them back. All of those little things matter on Fiverr for engagement, basically. We got another super chat. Hold on. Wow, lots of comments today. Sean Lester. Thank you, Sean. Sean's been blowing up on TikTok. Sean's been making some content on TikTok. Good for you, Sean. Do you get a large percentage of your business from Fiverr, or is it a thing good mostly for beginners? Right now, most of my work, right now, I'd say 80% of my work is coming from Fiverr right now. Meditation and audiobooks, mainly. Since I've been on Fiverr for a while now, I've got clients that come back to me time and time again. It may not be every month. It may be once every year, maybe once every couple of years. But if you see my point here, the longer you're there and you're visible and you're working, those clients do come back to you, right? I just had another one today that, I did some videos for a year ago, and then they need another one. So here's another $500 order. I mean, you have to stay consistent and stay there. And again, it takes time to build these things up, but you will if you stay consistent and engaged and keep with it. But meditation is just huge right now. Good golly, Miss Molly. Let's see. Dylan said, I was here on time. I brought nothing, even though it's almost apple cider and oh, I know. Spooky season's coming. Gregory says, I've had to put my Fiverr pursuits on the back burner over the past year, but the way you're breaking pricing down and the no-nos in a way that is clear in my cluttered brain. Good. I'm glad you guys can make sense of my tangents and blabbering, because that's what I feel like I'm doing. But I'm glad it makes sense to you guys at least. Let's see. Yep. Mom look. Hide the raw bacon. Oh, God, you guys are gross. Okay. Abe says, entry point is cheap, but overall stacks up like a la carte. Exactly. Exactly, because you have to think about your basic offer as the entry price point. And if you think about it as a consumer yourself, when you're shopping online, you see two items that are the same thing that you're looking for, and you see one offering is $10 and the other one is 20 or 30, which one are you going to click on first? The $10 one, right? If they're both on Amazon, they're both exactly the same thing. I mean, it's the same ideology. You want to get their attention. You want them to click on your gig and don't go anywhere else, right? You want to be the voice they're looking for, and then they can add on all the things and then place the order, right? So you want to make sure that your basic offer is as appealing as possible. But that doesn't mean that you're undercutting yourself, right? And again, it doesn't have to be $5. It can be whatever you want it to be. But keep that in mind, that your basic offer needs to be like almost clickbaity. I hate to say clickbaity, but you know, it has to be appealing. Yeah, I get easily distracted by bacon too. I get you. Tanya says, I was about to give up on Fiverr when I got my best gig so far. It can be worth keeping up with it in the background. Absolutely. Yeah, let's not jinx next year. I'm with you. How do you recognize scams on Fiverr? If it sounds like it's too good to be true, if they're asking you for personal information, if they are trying to get you off the site, if they're trying to get you to give, I already said personal information. If you ever have concerns about a potential scam, this is another reason why I say to join groups. So that way you can copy it and paste it in a group. Just make sure you don't include their username because that's against the terms of service. And say, hey guys, how does this read to you? Does this sound like a scam? And I'm not going to say that I've never fallen for one, because there's been a couple over the years that were not too good to be true. Like my spidey senses weren't tingling, but it sounded like it was legit, but it ended up being a scam. I didn't get scammed, but you know, I went far enough until I saw that it was. But ultimately what they're after is for your money or your personal information. So if it's after one of those, like if they're offering you $5,000 to read, you know, a short book, that's too good to be true. Or if there's a lot of misspellings, or, you know, if it looks like it's just copy and paste, if it doesn't make a whole lot of sense, you know, sometimes you got to learn the hard way. But I mean, just trust your gut. Trust your intuition. If it sounds too good to be true, or it sounds like they're just trying to worm their way into your personal contact information or your personal details, then that's a no thank you, report, block. Tanya, don't give up, especially with you, the amazing voice of yours. You could read the instructions on a can of biscuits. Yeah, Tanya's got one of those voices too. Tanya and Caesar, those two. I'll tell you what, you guys should get together and narrate a book together. Masonry Construction says ACX allows authors 10 days each time a file review comes up. And there are at least 2 of those. By point, your production time can disappear fast, and some of it is not even in your control. Sorry for the noisy seat shift. Had to move my leg, was falling asleep. Dylan says, when I made my Fiverr profile, I had only been doing VO for 6 weeks, but I was a salesman for 12 years, so I said that I had over a dozen years in VO and sales. Technically not a lie. Linguistic voodoo. Spoken like a true salesperson. Sage says, what would you suggest I put in my profile as a newbie? VO using a Blue Yeti mic and Audacity? Yes. Yes. And then you also want to say that you have a sound-treated professional voiceover booth. You're not being untruthful. It could be your closet. It could be a weird little storage room in your house like mine. It's still a sound-treated professional voiceover booth. Right? So just focus on what you have. And maybe a little bit about your background. Even if it's not voiceover related. As we mentioned before, my profile states that I was in the automotive industry for 20 years. And construction. I was in the construction industry and the automotive industry for over 25 years. Together. But that kind of background tells them that I'm perhaps maybe disciplined. I can understand the terminology and the lingo used in those industries. I might be best suited for an automotive documentary or something, you know what I mean? Because I understand, right? Any experience you have that's not voiceover related is still life experience, and you should still use that. You can even include that you have 10 dogs. Maybe you're a dog breeder. I breed dogs. It doesn't matter. Your life experience is still experience. So use it. Chuck says, failures are not failures, they're lessons. Excellent advice. Exactly. It's something you needed to learn. What's important is that after you fall on your face, you get back up and go, now I know not to do that again. Right? It's a lesson. As long as you don't throw in the towel, you're stronger for it. Masonry Construction says, Chuck, I've got a dozen plus on Audible, all of them recorded and edited on Descript. You edit your audio just like you edit a Word doc. There's a free version. AI can help you through issues. Let's see. Deep. Questions. Paul says, refresh. I did. All refresh since last week. Okay, well, give it some more time. Remember that when you make a change on Fiverr, it could either skyrocket you up or down, or maybe it's going to take a little bit of a time for buyers to come in and search for things, for them to figure out where your place is on the algorithm. So it might take a couple of weeks, a few weeks, maybe even a month, to determine where your new place in the algorithm is. But just make sure that at this point, any kind of interactions that you get in your inbox that you're responding to, even if it's a scam, respond to it. Say no thank you, so that response is satisfied, because you have to respond to everybody in your inbox, at least in that first initial reach out. No thank you, report block. So all of the things that you need to do as a buyer or as a seller are satisfied. And then just wait for the next one to come in, right? Respond to it quickly. No thank you, report block. And if it's a client, then make sure that you're asking questions. You're responding to them in a timely manner. I mean, just do what you can with what you have. There is a natural ebb and flow to Fiverr, because they've got, hundreds of thousands of people, of freelancers on Fiverr, a lot of them in the same category. So, VoiceOver's got over 100,000 voice artists. Not all of them are active anymore, keep in mind. So that number is definitely larger than it actually is. But they're trying to move everybody around so everyone has it as an equal opportunity. So there is a ebb and flow to Fiverr. There'll be months where I'm, way up here, and there'll be months where I'm way down here. But in that lull, I'm focusing on refreshing other things. Not necessarily on Fiverr. I could be, working on my website. I could be, you know what I mean? And then maybe the next month it goes back up again. So when you make a change, give it some time. Don't immediately think, Fiverr is garbage. I could show you, I could prove to you how well Fiverr has done for me, but you have to stay on top of it. You have to be proactive, because you can't go out and audition for things. You got to have people come to you. So you have to make sure that your gigs are 100% filled out So you're satisfying the algorithm. You have to make sure that your thumbnails are appealing, so people click on you, that your entry price point is appealing, that you're presenting yourself in a professional way, right? That your gigs are easy to understand, all of the things. So long story short, have patience. Have patience. Caesar sent another super chat on his birthday. Caesar says, when I fall on my face, I always get up, brush myself clean, and say, though that would feel, because you've got no teeth. So that's what that feels like. You're funny. Reminded me of somebody else. Beep-a-deep-doo. Greg says to Chuck, problems are the greatest teachers and opportunity to strengthen your resourcefulness and resiliency. Stepping stones to success. Fun fact, do nothing while recovering from the flu. Yep. Let's see. Any more questions? Dylan says to Sage, you have a dedicated recording space with a quality microphone and professional style DAW. A profile is like a resume. Don't outright lie. You can specifically word things to sound better. Exactly. Remember, ChatGPT can help you. You can always take what you have and ask ChatGPT to change it in a way that sounds appealing, but not, that doesn't make you sound like a brand new person in the industry. I mean, utilize AI. Not for voices, but for copy. Chuck says, since I've never been a seller and I want to brand my voiceover across multiple platforms, will deleting my buyer account hinder my progress? It all depends on if your buyer account, remember, account can be both. If your account username is going to be what you're going to be known by, that's all that really matters. Because if your profile name on Fiverr is your name, and that's what you're going to use on your website and all the other voiceover platforms, it doesn't matter what you're buying. It doesn't matter what you're buying. It doesn't even matter if your gigs aren't all voiceover related. It doesn't matter. You could have 2 voiceover gigs and then one for spreadsheets on Excel and another one for website development. It doesn't matter. As long as your username is what you're going to be known by, doesn't matter. You can buy and sell on your profile. Sage says, would suggest adding what degrees we hold even if... Yes. It shows that you're dedicated and educated. Absolutely. Share any kind of life experience you have. Life experience counts as experience. It is experience. Oh my God, yes. Yes. Post them. Show that stuff off. Masonry Construction says, Chuck, unless your buyer account has a ridiculous name, just keep it and keep its history. Many years of existence. Exactly. You just click a switch and go from buyer to seller. Exactly. Chuck says, profile name right now isn't my name, but we'll be changing it to my stage name, so to speak. Okay, well, if that's the case, then you might need to restart. But to Masonry Construction's point, that's, history that you don't want to lose if you don't have to. But if your username on Fiverr is not the name that you're going to be known for, although I do have to say, for those of you who know who Anthony Pica is, his username was not his name. It was just because he didn't realize at the time, it's some nonsensical thing that. But what Fiverr has done over, how long ago did they do that? They started to put to give you the ability to put your first name, last initial in also. People can find you that way too. People can find you that way too. So it's not the end of the world, really, because Anthony Picas is just some nonsensical username, but he has done just as fine on Fiverr. But I always tell people to, if they haven't started yet, to choose that username because it just makes things easier going forward. But it's not the end of the world if it's not. Do with that as you will. Sage says, to Caesar, thanks for that added tidbit of info. I almost missed your comment. All right, you guys, it's about that time. I have actually, over the last couple days, have gotten a lot of, not a lot, but a few very large projects on Fiverr, and I have got to get to them. So I'm hoping that something I've shared with you today has been helpful. If you guys want to continue talking about Fiverr in the future, then just let me know. Put it in the comments down below, and or if there's something specific about Fiverr that you want me to go more in depth into, we can do that. Because there's a lot. There's a lot. We can spend a few hours going through every little nuance of Fiverr, for sure. Anything else? But other than that, I will see you guys next week. Well, same bat time, same bat channel. At the very least, go through and just look around on Fiverr. Create your profile and start looking around. Maybe place an order for something small. So that way you also know how the process works, because that'll be definitely helpful for you. And smash that like button. Yes, I just saw that in the comments. Thank you, guys. Do all the YouTubey things. I appreciate you. But I will see you all next week. Bye.